All right, so let's get into it. So B.Moon live in Alabama. How you doing, B.Moon?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you very much, and thank you for being on my show today. So obviously you're live in Alabama, which is an amazing thing. So how's your day going?
It's going pretty good. It's sunny out here, kind of warm.
Nice one. So welcome to the show again. So we had your husband on last weekend showcasing his mixtape PG-13. So and it's amazing that you're both artists together and you kind of be on each other's tracks and stuff. That's a really epic thing, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We didn't plan it like that. It's just a lot of times he doesn't really ask me to be on a track. I'll just hear a beat and I'm like, I might have something, but I'll just hear it because he's always making music. So he might be making a beat, and if I feel something, I just tell him, like, I'm able to write to it, and he'll be like, go for it. So that's kind of how it works. It's not really like we plan it. It's just if I'm feeling it, if it speaks to me, then I just kind of write and see what happens.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, it's kind of cool that you can get in there, because otherwise you wouldn't ask you, I guess. But no, it's good that you get on the tracks. But you obviously, aside from jumping on his stuff, like, you're an artist as a solo artist as well, right?
Yes.
How did you actually get into doing that?
Well, I've been rapping since I was about 15. Before I was rapping, I've been doing poetry since elementary school. When I was 15, one of my teammates on my basketball team, she rapped, and she heard one of my poems, and she was like, that could be a rap. And I never really thought about it. And so I just started writing poetry to music, and we just began freestyling at school, and I really enjoyed freestyling because it kind of expanded my poetry, because it's one thing to sit there and contemplate on what you're going to say, but when you're freestyling and you have to go off the cusp, it just kind of elevated my poetry. But all that, when I was doing that, I was not rapping about God. I was rapping about other stuff that, I was using it for not the best purposes at the time, but the Lord flipped it, and now it's for him.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing then. But so you got into doing it in the negative way, Lord flipped it, and here you are today, kind of thing, married to Vi and making music together in some cases, but you are still a solo artist and doing it strong. So this single that we're going to be showcasing tonight, tell us about how you put it together.
Well, I came home and Vi was working on the beat. B.Moon, my husband, was working on the beat. It wasn't his beat or any beat. He just had a sound in his head, and he was using a sample. And I heard this funky guitar, and I told him, I was like, you should turn that up, the guitar part up. And he actually listened, because sometimes he'll take my critiques or not. Yeah. He turned it up, and there was another sound, and I think I told him to do something to it. And then once he did that, it was just calling me. So I heard the birds on the track, and I was like, hey, Vi, I think I got a chorus for that song. I didn't know it was mine. At the time, I just thought of a chorus, and then as I was writing, I just didn't stop. And then I was like, oh, I got a verse too. And then after that, I had all three verses. And then he's like, oh, I guess I was writing this for you. So it was just, I wrote the song in about 8 minutes, but a lot of that, I'm not really big on social media and on news and stuff like that. I kind of take in a lot of information and just kind of discern and feel like, okay, God, what are you saying about this? Or what are you saying about this? And it's like, how I post is when I write my music, all of the stuff that I've taken in, that I've received, that I've seen, I'll all of a sudden put all of that into my lyrics, what's God telling me on a matter, and that's how I got Fly Away, basically.
So how did you come up with the title then, in reference to the context of the song?
Well, when I heard the birds, the only word that I got initially was fly away. When I heard the birds in the beat, I just heard fly away. And then once I heard that, I just started thinking about different scenarios, just like I said, things I've seen. And basically the concept, when I said house on fire, basically it's saying, come a little birdie, fly away, house on fire. There's no need for you to really pray. even when I wrote that, I was like, wow, I'm telling people, really? Am I telling people not to pray? But God showed me, like, if the house that we're in right now, if it was on fire, we wouldn't stop and be like, Lord, what do we do? You know, God speaks to us in more than just, you know, traditional prayer. Prayer is more than just, you know, your hands folded. Prayer is communication with the Father. He communicates not only through you internally, but through nature, through your senses, through your instincts. So if the house is on fire, instinctually, that's God telling you, get out. You don't have to sit there and wait for a word or a minister or a preacher. No, instinctually, you know deep inside, I got to get out of here. It's danger. That's the reason why he gave us a sense of smell, so we can smell the smoke, you know, hearing so we can hear the alarm. And so a lot of people are in situations that they know deep down inside they're not supposed to be in, and they didn't ask God, you know, to get in that situation. They did their own thing, and now everything's falling apart, and they're like, oh, Lord, what do I do? And then they blame God and say, well, you know, I prayed, but I didn't hear him. No, you know what to do. He's telling you in your gut. And that's for those people who are kind of at a crossroad in their life. And this is telling you, okay, hear God from a different perspective. Hear him internally through your instincts. In a nutshell, it's so complicated. The song is so simple, but it's so complex. It's hard for me to describe it because, like I said, I kind of wrote it in a few minutes. And even when I listen to it, I get new things from it all the time too.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting though. I mean, I guess it could be in different ways depending on who you are that hears it. You know what I mean? It could be a reference, or it could be think their own way of when they hear it kind of thing, depending on their own life, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it speaks to everybody. Somebody who's in a job that they're just settling, they're afraid to step out on faith and do their dreams. Someone settling in a relationship when they know they should cut off, you know, trying to please the other person's needs because they want to hold on to them and trust that the Lord will send the right person there. Even the church is an example. There's people who are stuck in church, caught up in religion, and God is telling them deep down inside, get out, go. Not saying leave that church, but get out of this religious box and expand, you know, your view of who I am. Don't put me in a box. And then the part that says God's going to rebuild on the foundation that he laid, a lot of people, we say not my will, but your will be done. We say it and we kind of like, oh, it sucks that I got to do God's will. You know, I can't get what I want. But if we just understand that God's will is, his will for us is the best life for us. His will for us is abundant life. His will is for us to have a hope and a future. So if we understand his will is all about us living greatly, we'll know that his will is what's best for us. We won't feel like, oh, not my will, but his will. His will is the better process of getting to our dreams and goals. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added to us. So we're seeing, it's just a better understanding that, yeah, this house is burning down, but I'm stepping out on faith, trusting that he's going to rebuild on the foundation that he laid. So he's going to build this house even better, more efficiently, and it's going to be for my greater good, instead of just saying, oh, you know, you feel like you're missing out on something because we can't go about things the way we thought we should.
Yeah, I get that. And that's a really cool thing you said about there, about the, like not putting him in a box kind of thing. I think that's very relevant because it's great to go to a church and, you know, have fellowship, but then if you're living inside of that all the time, you know what I mean? Like, you can just kind of lose yourself thinking that is Christianity and not see, like, the bigger picture of the whole world and different cultures and different people's societies and, you know, how it affects different people. And it's good to broaden your horizons, I think, and see it on different levels and aspects. But, so obviously this one single, but is there other stuff in the works? Yes,
there's other stuff in the works. I've been planning on an album for a year and a half, and I have the name and everything. I have other beats that I've asked my husband to put aside that I want to write to. Some of those beats I have choruses, I have verses, and I was trying to force it, and it wasn't working out. So I just, once again, you know, let go and let God. I was like, okay, Lord, well, when you want me to write, because I just don't want to put out music just to put out music. I want it to be right. You know, I want it to reach people, and I want it to be real. So I just said, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live, and as I live, when it's time, I'm trusting that you will give me the song. So I was so excited after I wrote this, because I was like, okay, we can get to the album. But even after Fly Away, the excitement of Fly Away, I almost wanted to go, okay, well, what song can I write next? But I forgot the lesson in that. The lesson is God's going to give me the words at the right time for the right tune. So I am working on something. This is going to lead up to something, but it's got to come. I want it to come from heaven. That way he can get the glory, and it'll be proper timing. So this is, even though it seems like something, it just randomly happened, I've been wanting this to happen a year and a half. It just didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Yeah,
but that's cool. I think what you said there is how it should be done. Just chill and let it, you know what I mean? There's no pressure to it. Just let God's will be done in your life, and let the vibe happen naturally, and then you probably receive, and you probably have the best music come out of you, rather than pushing yourself, stressing yourself out, and then, you know what I mean, it ain't gonna happen as good as it could have happened, kind of thing. So just chill, I would say. I think you're doing the right thing with that attitude.
Thank you.